Hello, my name is Gabriel and I am a true monotheist, pure creationist. In this video I want to talk about the appropriation of forgiveness as well as the appropriation of forgiveness within religious structures. So, let's start with a more relatable perspective. As an Anglophone, as a Francophone, for those who are not familiar with me, I think that it's natural to start with Christianity because that is the most popular monotheistic religion in Canada and in the USA and among other Anglophones and Francophones. So, let's start there, the appropriation of forgiveness. So, I would say that their main figure, Jesus Christ, is all about forgiveness. In fact, that's one of the cores of Christianity, is they say that Jesus Christ will forgive you for all of your sins if you accept him as your Lord and Savior, and if you believe that he died on the cross for you and everyone else and the entire world. So I'm certain that, there's dozens of other people, namely Christians, that could extrapolate or further explain this, and probably in a much more detailed way than myself. What I want to focus on now is the term appropriation of forgiveness. So, as children, and I'm going to speak assuming that the viewer either can relate or has had similar experiences in their childhood where they were exposed or introduced or influenced by Christianity. I would say that the first thing we understand, or I understood, was that I was doing something wrong. So then we go into sin. So what is sin? Right? And I think that not only does the church appropriate or describe what sin is, they describe it with forgiveness in mind. So I think that on a personal level, on a psychological level, this has a very strong effect on an impressionable mind. So it's not about the fact that it's a child. It's about the fact that it's an impressionable person. That means the things that are said to this individual leave a mark on them. And I would like to say in a side note that I think that there are many people that are still impressionable people. So I think that it is arguable that people could call this trauma or brainwashing, but that's another discussion. I'm not here to blame Christians for anything. Or rather, I'm not here to blame anybody who came to me with their own Christian mindset I think that they might have had good intentions, maybe not, I don't know. But it's something that I inherited, and I believe that it's something that many of us inherit. So, with that in mind, I give myself permission to speak freely about it, because it's something that was imposed on me. So, again, I think I want to go back to the idea of appropriation and the things that are instilled within us when we are younger, when we are children, or when we cannot help but being in a specific environment. So I want the viewer or the viewers to think about all of the ways that forgiveness has been appropriated within them. And I would personally make a connection or a correlation between this idea of forgiveness creating a complex within the individual, perhaps even a deep psychological complex. In fact, when I say the word complex, I think about Messiah complex. So I would say that potentially the very people, again, potentially, the very people who are responsible for introducing Christianity within a society and propagating those philosophies and those beliefs and that doctrine may also be the people that are quick to criticize those that they deem as having a Messiah complex. But I would say it's what you gave them. There's two sides to it. You know, there's what one individual says and intends, and how it's interpreted by the other individual. So I would say that you could even look at other cultures outside of Anglophone cultures, like Hispanic-speaking peoples, I think that's the term, people who speak Spanish or Latin languages, naming their sons Jesus, which is, from what I've read, another name for Jesus. Or even in English, Joshua. And also just basically giving your sons or daughters biblically inspired names, or names directly from the Bible. So, as a person, you know, in a society that encourages people to be something or be someone, I think that we shouldn't criticize people that we see as having a Messiah complex, because I would sooner shift the focus to the destructive behavior of the media and the internet and social media. I'm not saying that it's only this, but I'm saying that it's really important to look at that. I think that I've seen the push from the other side as well. I've actually met people that say, you know, they're so quick to answer the question of God. I say, oh, it's fine. You know what? You're God and I'm God. That's it. And they leave it at that. Or they practice it. I'm not sure. But, you know, now you see how I have been trying to tread a very fine line. A very, very fine line. You know, to try and understand how to address all of it. So, this idea of a Messiah complex, I think that when I see other cultures, like I was saying earlier, like the name Jesus for a man, or even more common, the name Muhammad for someone who was born into an Arabic community. So As an Anglophone, I'm going to assume that I am addressing Anglophone peoples in this video about their perceptions of a Messiah complex, and say that tread carefully if you're going to try and single somebody out or blame them for singling themselves out. We can look at this in a lot of different ways, and I would say that there's lots of frustration and sensitivity surrounding these subjects, and there's lots of different ways that we could describe why that might be true. What I'm trying to do right now is encompass all possible emotions, reactions, and opinions surrounding these related subjects. So I'm going to try and thin it down again. I think that this comes back to appropriation. The individual appropriating the whole, and the perceived whole appropriating the individual. So in the same way that Jesus Christ is singled out within the church, I think that every single person that's exposed to the church is also singled out within themselves. So I am trying to grasp what happens in my mind, and possibly in someone else's mind, when this phenomenon takes place. So again, the appropriation of forgiveness. I think that Christianity continues to exist. Other religions continue to exist. And so I think that these ideas continue to be a part of each of us. And I would want to say that there is not only fear coming from these notions of hell and not being forgiven, not just coming from Christianity, but coming from Abrahamic religions, and possibly other religions as well. So I think that what's most important is for people to try their best to come to an objective reasoning of why they have permission to forgive themselves for anything, but also feeling the need to be forgiven. Because the culture that I inherited and that others have potentially inherited failed in one way. And I've said it in previous videos. No one came to me on the basis of truth. Camp counselors in my youth, school counselors, teachers, classmates, everybody that I met, spoke to at length. Not a single one of them came to me and spoke to me about the basis of truth, about who I am as a man, about how my own personal psychological process works. They weren't able to communicate that to me, and they didn't. I don't know. It's quite possible that they didn't know themselves. And, so all I know is that no one came to me about it, and it's been very difficult for me to grasp it. Very frustrating too, feeling like I'm onto something throughout, my early adulthood. It sort of started when I was 21 years old, that I was feeling like something was changing, and then so many people came to me, and instead of talking to me about the basis of truth, they once again came to me on a basis of belief. I don't know if any of my viewers have ever had strangers come to them and say strange things, but when I was living in Montreal, that's all that happened for a period of 3 years, more than 3 years, sitting in the metro, just being in public, in school, people saying cryptic things, and then coming home to my family and me telling them what others have said to me, and then them saying, oh, it's in your head. So, the appropriation of forgiveness. I think that there is a possibility that individuals might still have to come into contact with people who don't agree with me, who don't agree with the things that I'm saying. The media certainly likes to spin the idea that there are men out there that want to kill or enslave Westerners. But I would sooner be less trusting of those that the media do not tell me not to trust. And I think that I have all of the logical and genuine reasons not to trust Anglophone media for the amount of scapegoating that it's done. I look at it quite simply. It's clear to me that certain countries have advanced technology and other countries don't. So, for someone to tell me, we're the victims, we're defending your life, and they're the ones with advanced technology, and they're saying, the enemy is these people, and then I look at the descriptions of the people they're describing, and I look at where they supposedly live, and what do I see? Like, little to no development. So, I think that the most important thing is the ability to discern certain aspects of what's being said. The most important thing that we have to do is to discern, differentiate aspects within what is being said in the media. The media doesn't take the time, these news tabloids don't take the time to extrapolate or further explain their own personal bias, what is possibility, what is a rumor. They don't take the time to properly inform. they just continue to spin a story. Now this is happening. Now this is happening. This person said this. This person said that. So I think it needs to be reinforced with proper education in order for it to be helpful if we want to bring people towards the truth. So again, the appropriation of forgiveness. Now we can come together on an individual basis and say, did I understand the basis of truth before I made all of these decisions? At what point in my life did I finally understand the basis of truth as an individual and then act and make decisions from that point onward? This is where I tie it in to what I feel and believe that people can argue for themselves. You can say, I didn't understand the basis of truth, and so I forgive myself, because no one came to me on the basis of truth, and I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand that on the deepest psychological level, I was in a society that did not talk to me about the basis of truth and may have not even known about it. And that this entire time, I was operating, existing, communicating purely on a basis of belief and the notion of knowledge. And I would say in my own personal experiences, I have met several people that have tried to trick me and manipulate me. And that they understood what I believed at the time, and that it wasn't a basis of truth. There are predators out there. And it's sad. So this is also part of what motivates me to make these videos. If I go up to a person in the middle of the street and try and talk to them about this, the first thing they're going to think of is, oh, is he trying to convert me into a cult? And again, why would that person have that idea? The only thing I can think of is, once again, the destructive and self-destructive and oppressive media. Of these TV shows and all of these things that teach us to laugh at everything and to create these distracting and unhelpful stereotypes. So again, the appropriation of forgiveness and the appropriation of sin. And, even worse, the appropriation of God. So, for any individual to feel like they are not able, or they don't even have permission to try and seek God, and what I mean by that is try and find their own connection with that which is beyond them, is an indicator right away that, there's a serious issue here. So again, I just want to reiterate, there is a difference between someone who says God is within and someone who doesn't say that and says otherwise. Because those are very big statements. I think it's a lot more helpful and a lot more useful to start from a personal basis, an individual basis, and say, what do I really know about myself? What do I really know about perception? So instead of encouraging these young men to go into workshops or yoga studios or other things as well, instead of brainwashing them to think that, the answer is simple. I'm God, and not even allowing them the chance to understand the basis of truth. As a believer, the truth is, I don't know if God exists. It's still belief, right? But one thing I do know is what I am, and that's a man. I am a man. I am creation. I am created. I am not the active will that makes manifest. That's not self. What I'm saying right now, I know where it comes from. It comes from self. It comes from myself. So if somebody's watching this and saying, oh, he doesn't understand this concept yet, or this concept yet, or this concept yet, about, subconscious existence or higher self, I've read all about it. But it's all the same. It's all artifice. And it leads to the same thing. Expansion of self. It leads to expansion of perceived self. And that's where the basis of truth truly becomes an anchor for me and reminds me, the difference between myself and something else. So, I have said that in a previous video about, these ideas that are being put out there, that information that's being put out there. All I have to think about is my origin, which is non-existence. The very beginning. All I have to think about is that the origin of my consciousness was one of absolute ignorance and innocence and vulnerability. So, if I go down this road, or if someone else goes down this road of trying to discover their higher self, I would say to them, at what point do you meet the other you or other self that brings you back to the point of origin? If I'm supposed to adopt this idea that I just haven't reached my higher self yet, and that I really am a part of everything, and that God really is within, then why did birth happen? Do any of us really want to be that again? To completely lose ourselves? All memories deleted, and once again, and this idea of, a a cycle of existential suffering, self-realization, death, and birth. Now, what comforts me and what reassures me when I reach that point of understanding and when I go to that idea is, oh, right, the basis of truth and the belief in God. It's about understanding that I am comfortable, or I have become comfortable, or accepted the strong possibility that God exists, or that I am not alone in my existence. That I did not choose to be born in the same way that I do not choose to wake up today, and I will not choose to wake up tomorrow. And I will not choose what someone else does to me. So, I think that these notions of being co-creator, these are first-hand accounts. I spoke to somebody about this, and this is what she believed. I won't stop her, because I respect the fact that God gives everyone freedom. Now, I said fact, but rather I believe that freedom is God-given. Existence is God-given. I don't give myself my existence, and so I don't believe that other people give themselves their existence either. However, I do believe that people are capable of anything. So I do believe that there are people who do give themselves a form of existence that they created, and that there's a difference between that form of existence and someone who simply chooses to exist and preserve the notion that they are created, instead of choosing to have experiences that they create from another source of themselves. I do believe that it is not good in the end. I would sooner put my faith in God instead of say, well, I'll do everything I can to make my dreams come true, or make manifest what I want. So if I would just look at that person who might be living in that way, and I would say, well, what am I to you? If you are, as you say you are, a co-creator of your own existence, and that you make manifest what is around you, and that you are also a part of it, that you are part of your own permeation of the physical reality that surrounds you, then what am I doing in your physical reality? So, how come I'm not, connected to you? Why don't I share your beliefs? How come I'm capable of being a skeptic? If I'm in the presence of this person that believes that they are co-creators of their own reality, then why am I not there with them saying, oh, hello, I'm part of your co-creation, and you're part of my co-creation? So, either way, these aren't questions that I'm interested in really answering, or having answered. Because all I have to do is come back to the original argument. At what point, if I was to adopt these beliefs, at what point do I meet the aspect of me that says it's time to be completely deleted and be a baby again? and go through all that suffering again and again and again. So this is where I take comfort in my ignorance. This is where I take comfort in a belief in God. And this is where I take comfort in the existence of monotheistic religions. So again, coming back to the appropriation of forgiveness. And also the appropriation of sin. There's a lot there to unpack. There's a lot there to unravel. There's a lot there to discuss. But I would say that anybody watching this who relates to me, you had a childhood where you were exposed to a lot of television, cartoons, TV shows. Some of these TV shows even had depictions of occultism and symbolism, mythology, astrology, superpowers, magic. This. You may or may not have been exposed to Christianity or other religions. You may have been spoken to about the world, other cultures, other languages, the existence of other people. Elementary school was basically math, science, everything else. Still at this point, any age between 3 to 12 years old, no one has come to you on a basis of truth yet. You're still just being given information based on belief or science, but none of it about, how you yourself process anything. Nothing about your psyche and the nature of your psyche. Let's see. Exposure to music, pop music, exposure to people who are having an effect on shaping your personality, whether they try and shape you actively into a specific shape, or whether you react to be shaped outside of the impression that they make. Still, no one, even in your young adulthood, is talking to you about the basis of truth. Maybe you start getting exposed to more social concepts, more social conventions, parties, people, talking, friends, hobbies, intimacy, let's see, what else? Sports, drugs, medication. Still, no one at this point has come to you on a basis of truth and explained to you how to discern the difference between belief, faith, and truth. No one has come to you at this point of talking to you about what you see on the computer or what you see on the TV. No one has taken the time to remind you, remember, what you're looking at is a video. Just remember that. What is a video? To remember yourself as you're experiencing something else that is outside of the boundaries of yourself and that it's influencing you. And it's controlling your focus. Right? So I would say anybody who fits or thinks that they fit in that category, you have the ability to forgive yourself. And no one has the ability to tell you, has the right to tell you, I believe that no one has the ability or the right to tell you the ability. They do have the ability. They don't have the right to say that you don't deserve forgiveness for not knowing better. Because no one came to you on a basis of truth. And if it was this difficult for me to understand the basis of truth, and still now, I'm still trying to modify the way I speak so that I differentiate at what point I'm speaking from a basis of belief and at what point I'm speaking from a basis of truth. So I think that I strongly believe that, that we deserve forgiveness at that point. For that much. That people deserve a chance to change. And I don't mean change personally, like change your style or change your values. Just mean change the way we speak and understand. And it's coming back to my head again, these people that are saying, yeah, change the way you speak. It should be always from a place of love. And no, because then what you're doing is you're putting in the balance of love and freedom. And that's not my battle. I think that people can sometimes be hateful and angry and frustrated, and that's a natural reaction. So for people to force or expect people to change that, when I've met so many people that are capable of anything, including altering, people are capable of anything. So for someone who chooses not to push that boundary, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm still at that point where I'm trying to speak from a newfound understanding of myself. So those people that, say you should be speaking from a place of love at all times, otherwise you're not part of love, or anything related to that, I would say the way I'm reacting to that is you are yet again challenging my sense of validation of self. It's clear to me that there are people that not only value love, but exalt this idea of positivity above humanity and the natural state of the heart. Let's imagine a woman in an office, and you're working at a call center, and a customer's being abusive on the phone, making you feel awful. And you turn to this person and say, can I hang up on them? I feel awful. This person's hurting me. They say, no, just deflect it. Just deflect it. Don't let it affect you. The notion that there are people that, expect, a certain level of emotional fortitude on you or me, instead of saying, I have the right to remove myself from this situation without jeopardizing my employment. So that's just one example. But either way, again, these notions that love is exalted in a free world, that doesn't work ideally. It can be tried, but I don't think it works ideally. So that's why I feel that aligning myself with the basis of truth is the best thing for myself and the best thing universally. Because it's perfectly neutral. Because it's beyond self. The basis of truth is beyond self. And it can be understood. Like I said in a previous video, if I was to represent the basis of truth visually, it would be a perfect sphere. And it would look exactly the same from every angle. And we also have to think about that in the sense that, well, who's looking at the sphere? And I would say a man. A man is looking at the sphere. Because this is the truth about man and his perception of the truth within self. And that what we're doing with this is learning how to communicate from a basis of truth and balance that, because our past was a basis of belief and a basis of doctrine. That people were communicating from all other directions. So, yeah, I'm not saying that the realization of the basis of truth can forgive everything, but I think that it allows for a person to be able to forgive a certain amount or a certain percentage of themselves and the choices they've made, and be reassured without needing somebody else's validation, because that basis of truth is beyond self. You are being validated by the truth you've come to understand, and this truth you've come to understand is outside of yourself, because it is the truth. And so you're bringing the truth into yourself, and that's what's allowing you the choice to make the change. So again, this video was about the appropriation of forgiveness and how the basis of truth takes away the certain types of forgiveness that are appropriated in other ways, and hopefully gives man a very useful and necessary tool in order to further understand himself and communicate from a place that is hopefully and ideally mutually beneficial. I guess that's everything. So